Hey, good morning. We're going to recap Oaklawn Park the last couple days. There wasn't a whole lot on Friday, on Valentine's Day, but a couple things we've talked about in videos in the past. And one of the points kind of picking up we left off on from the day 12 recap was Robertino Diodoro and with Oaklawn shippers coming into Oaklawn Park from California. And one of those horses won the second race. And again, this is Friday, February 14th, Caribbean. And this is a horse that out in California, he had shown run in spots and just for whatever crushed this field in the second race on Friday. Big optics figure, 10 points higher than the second place finisher, trained by Joe Sharp. I'm going to kind of talk about him because he's bringing some horses over here this meet and how they performed over the last couple days. And then he had another shipper in race 3. And we'll kind of talk about this horse because probably very live. Went off as the favorite in this race, 2-1 favorite, and that's Spendaholic. And for Spendaholic, again, probably pretty well meant, a little bit overconfident with the ride, had a wide tracking trip, moved early, the race slowing late, a blanket finish at the wire. So again, probably pretty well meant given that pattern, these California shippers taking money. And again, I think the trip played a factor in there. The winner of the race, Platinum Knights, another horse coming in from California, this one trained by Peter Urton. Just got the perfect trip, had that right pace scenario, the race slowing late, and the right setup. So as far as Friday, that's pretty much it as far as like things kind of really standing out. And again, it's a little bit of a repeat of things that we've talked about with the trainer. Now, yesterday's racing, I think there's a few races to really talk about. We'll start with race 6. I know a lot of this action is kind of later on the card. So again, if there's anything in the those first 5 races that you want to discuss or talk about, send me a message and I'll take a look and be happy to go through those races. But picking up in race 6, the winner of the race, Something Natural. We'll kind of take a step back too. Horses, in the last video, I kind of talked about horses kind of making their second start of the meet. I think have improvement, things to watch for. And I know it gets tricky when you have multiple horses coming out of the same race. But Something Natural, the winner of the race, he made his first start on January 26th over a muddy track. And in the same condition, race won by his stablemate. Running in the Southwest, which isn't today. I've kind of sent all these races in, so it gets a little confusing. But he's running in the Southwest on Monday. I did an analysis for that race. It's up on opticscq.com, and I also forwarded it to Brisnet, so they might post it as well. So you can kind of see the way that I'm kind of attacking that race. And then from his perspective, I think he's going to have a lot more pace pressure in the race. Something he had to some extent back on the January 26th race, but it's going to be a little bit more contested in there with Gold Street. So check that out if you can. All right, sorry, I kind of jumped around a little bit. But anyways, Something Natural finishing second in that race to his stablemate. Got the perfect trip here, was just able to save ground behind the pace setters, getting that first run. Now, I wrote about this race as well in Brisnet, and the horse, and actually a horse coming out of that January 26th race, Life on the Road. And I thought he had a better than looked effort that afternoon, made a move from off the pace. They had changed tactics a little bit. He had been forwardly placed in the past and took him back. And I figured they'd go with that same kind of off the pace tactic. He moved early into the far turn. It's sort of that sneaky 2 move. So you see him move early into the far turn, and then the field kind of bunches up a little bit. So they kind of have to be a little bit patient. Let me get the rider's name correct here. So Bays is kind of waiting behind horses around the turn, and then makes a late move up the rail. There's 3 horses finishing for place behind that perfect trip winner, Something Natural. Davidic Line, he ran a good race. I mean, off the break, I thought that was kind of a sneaky good effort from him to finish second in that blanket finish. And then let's see if there's any other horses in here. Alpha 66, worth talking about. He was also in that blanket finish for the minors. I don't know. I don't know if he quite wants to go 2 turns. That's just sort of, it's hard to say when they have a wide trip, but that's just sort of, that was kind of my question mark going in, and more kind of the question coming out of the race. I think he's a decent runner. A little bit of speed figure progression from those late races as this 2-year-old, but we'll see where he shows up and kind of go from there. Other than that, I think everything's pretty straightforward. I mean, a lot of these optional allowance races, they're for these 3-year-olds, they're looking to kind of see where they fit, whether they're going to go on to these stakes races going forward. I think we'll probably, I wouldn't be surprised if they take a shot with Life on the Road, probably Alpha 66 as well. Something natural maybe as well. So we'll see kind of where that shakes out. Let's skip ahead to, I want to talk about these last 3 races and not try to get too long on this video, but since we are recapping 2 days, might get a little bit wordy here. All right, the 8th race. This is a pretty solid race. Just kind of overall, optics figure came back pretty strong, and sometimes that's not necessarily the case when you have a finish. We had 4 horses together on the wire. Sometimes those races can be, they can be a little weak. I thought this was actually a pretty good effort from a lot of these horses. Nero, he finished 4th. Again, all these horses early and late. So for him to stay on, a good effort, you can't knock that. Operation Stevie, he's so cool. I've kind of followed him because I do the selections over at Brisnet for Indiana and the optics notes for Indiana. So knowing him there, and I think that effort probably surprised them. I mean, he's just so honest. There was some flow for him to run out, which he loves, but got that and ran on late. He's cool. Just overall a cool horse. Maniwa, maybe, given the trip, because he kind of had that stalking trip sitting behind the pace setters and then finishing the blanket for place. Again, not a bad effort, but you could probably make the case that of the 4 horses, he was sort of in the best position to win. And again, they're all on the line. Make the case it's kind of a winning effort, but that was sort of his chance. Now, Mojo Man, he ran on opening day, caught a muddy track, did not handle the track at all, and he was also against the profile. The profile of opening day, I'm not going to say it was a bias, sort of on the less favorable part of the track, had upside. He benefited a little bit from the race shape here, but a strong effort for him in that race to get the win, kind of came over the top. Good handling there with those top 4. Not a whole lot from the others. They were quite a bit behind those top 4 that really separated themselves in that race. And we'll go on to these last couple races, some interesting stuff here. So the stakes race on the card, this is the Dixie Belle, a 5-horse field. The top 2 are really the ones to focus on. Ringleader, now going back to opening day, and I had talked about her race, was pretty much impressed with her debut, even though it was over at Canterbury. Thought there was some upside off that, and she'd be able to, with the training and the maturity, be able to improve off the layoff. She ran a big race on opening day, broke a little bit slow, was on the inside, part of that early pace, but impressive. B+ optics grade for the effort. Now she came back here in the stakes race, really smart ride. Was forwardly placed, was keen, but allowed Talamo to rate and kind of sit off the pace and then wait for a cue. She took the lead, finished under a good drive to a nice filly and especially. Now, this is where these 2 kind of flip-flop. So Ringleader coming back off the big effort on opening day, and then a strong effort here. I think she's probably going to need a little bit of time, those 2 big races back-to-back in a short period of time. We'll see where she shows up. If she comes back on short rest and she steps up in class, she could be a little bit vulnerable. I'd kind of like to see 45 days and see where she shows up, and then obviously assess the pace scenario with her running style. Now, especially, she was kind of working her way back. She started her career last year, October in Keeneland, ran a big race in her debut, and then came up short 3 weeks later. So kind of that similar pattern. Not kind of fully recovered that afternoon, needed time off, came back at the fairgrounds. She came back in an off the turf race, but really impressive. Caught the eye of the optics notes taker that she had some upside. She shipped in yesterday, 20 days between starts, and she ran a good race. Ringleader was kind of on her game, got the right trip, but especially she raced inside, moved into the clear late, closed the gap, those two together on the wire. So a good effort from her, and I could see especially coming back and moving forward off this race, even on kind of a shorter rest. I think this race is going to benefit her in her third start of the form cycle. Towards Ringleader, I think she's going to need, a little bit more time. So it's interesting when you think about form cycle, you have these two horses that are in a similar pattern. They're both second off the layoff in this race, but now assessing where they're going to go forward in their third start. Looking at these horses, whether they're going to improve, regress, or stay the same. It's not always the case doing that, like second off, third off the layoff. You really have to look at sort of the big picture, and obviously, we'll see. Could be wrong on that. Wasabi Girl finished third, an even third, wide trip. Just kind of no match for the top two, and sort of the same thing. Miss Firecracker and Sassy Seneca. Now, Sassy Seneca, stablemate to Ringleader, and just kind of not quite on the same level. So race 10. Now, race 10, I'm going to start maybe not the strongest favorite. She's got to come back, take on winners for the first time, go 2 turns for the first time, but there really wasn't anything to knock off her first 2 races. And there really wasn't anything kind of physically that would suggest like she's a true sprinter. But I would draw a complete line through this effort. The rider, I don't want to knock her too much. I've already knocked her a couple times on these videos, but she blew it here. She just took off on the front end, a wicked fast pace for the distance, separated. When a horse kind of takes off like that and they create these extreme race shapes, sometimes you can get some wacky results. So just a complete kind of line through debacle. I would not be surprised she comes back with a rider change here. A couple of these Larry Jones horses, he's put her up on live mounts and just not the best ride all around. So, we'll kind of see what happens from there. Now, the top 2 finishers, She Dares the Devil. Let me just check. So second choice, Brad Cox taking over the training here. She's coming off the layoff. Maybe the layoff had her a little bit short, and overall not a bad effort, but she kind of had that perfect trip, right? Because she's stalking a free trip behind Perfect Happiness, had that first run, had the lead, and was run down late. Again, like I said, these extreme pace scenarios can sometimes have weird results, but it was probably an opportunity for her to win. And the winner of the race, an excellent ride. Not the most favorable, had some ground loss there. Talking about the number 10, Bonnie South, was a bit slow, and De La Cruz was able to overcome that, a strong drive to get the win. I like that effort. A couple other horses that finished underneath, Compelling Smile, one of those. She was making her second start in the meet, coming out of that opening day muddy track race, a better than look effort here. And this start, she was pretty far back off the pace, going 2 turns for the first time, and showed a late move. The type of race, she finished 7th. It's not going to look that great on paper, but one of those races, she improved her speed figure, and I think she has upside out of that. Kind of go through. The number 3, Jilted Bride, a good finish from her, coming back off the layoff, going the 2-turn distance, running on late, another effort I could see her improving off of. Not too excited about Seahawk Lisa. She's all wolf. They both kind of finished side by side. We'll kind of see. I mean, Seahawk Lisa, I don't know where I know she'd run in stake races out in California. Not really sure where her quality is. Haven't really seen any real progression from her. And I think that's pretty much it as far as like kind of horses to watch out of that race and things to kind of go forward. But you know, an interesting race because we'll see again 3-year-old fillies like where they end up as far as going into stakes. But you know, could see some upside out of that. I think that's it for today as far as those 2 races. Hopefully got that in a reasonable time frame on the video. We'll see how it goes today as far as doing a recap video. Whether I push that back to Tuesday. Obviously, we'll do a recap for the Southwest. So today, races up on Brisnet, as well as opticsq.com. Check those out. They're good tools as far as, you know, playing the races today to kind of get some ideas about those races, try to pick some spots that, you know, are worth playing to make some money. That's obviously why we're out here and doing this, even though it's fun, but making money makes it even more fun. And yeah, so Southwest Stakes, kind of got off track here, but anyways, playing the races, but also they're good training tools. I know some people are getting into optics and learning to transition into that, playing with optics. So the way that I try to write it up is sort of like, here's the data, here's the information, here's how I'm kind of assessing it, you know, right or wrong, you're free to do that, but at least it kind of helps having some idea and some guide going through those races. All right, I'll cut off the video, stop talking for now. Thank you guys for watching, and yeah, forward any questions. Good luck today.